6, 7, 6.
Hello and welcome along to episode 15 of the Tennis Asia podcast. And on this episode, we talk Asian swing with both the WTA and ATP in this part of the world. The former on our doorstep, but in the latter, where there was local success in Chengdu, nearly local success in Hangzhou. And joining me as ever is a man who knows all about Asian swinging. It's Mr. Tennis Asia himself, Eddie McGee. How are you?
I'm pretty good. It's been so long since our last episode. A lot has happened. The US
You've been
Open.
to the US Open since we last spoke.
Indeed, I did go. And yeah, that was exciting. We can maybe talk about that a little bit later. But already it's all past, and now we've come back into the Asian swing. So this is it. This is our main part of the year.
This is our time of the year, favourite part of the year. Indeed, we were both at the WTA Career Open for a few days last week. We'll touch on that a little bit later, but we'll start off with the ATP. And there were two tournaments going on in China over the past week. They were the kind of tournaments we like, actually, because they both had their finals in midweek. And there was big success in Chengdu.
Yeah, and really, this has got to be the story of the last week. So Jerry Shang or Shang Juncheng.
I'm going to interrupt you there. We've actually got a third name for him now because obviously, as everyone who follows this knows, Eddie is the brains of the operation here, and he does send me over some notes before each episode. And for this one, it's got autocorrect has worked wonders with Jerry Shang, and in the notes he's just Jerry Shanghai the whole way through. But carry on. It was Jerry Shanghai, or Jerry Shang. It was his week in Chengdu, and history making as well.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, it's obviously the tournament's in China. It's in Chengdu. The first time they've had a Chinese champion. And not only is he Chinese, he's a 19-year-old up-and-comer. A lot of expectation for Jerry Shang. He's the first player born in 2005 to win an ATP title. So that's history already made there. But yeah, only the second Chinese man to win an ATP title after Wu Yibing won the first ATP title last year. That was in the US. And unfortunately, since then, for him, he's had physical struggles.
Right.
But this year, Chinese men's tennis has had a lot to be happy about. And, really, this has been perhaps coming. I mean, this year was kind of what a lot of people expected for Jerry in terms of, this is going to be his transition to the main tour. But I mean, we're already just at the start of the Asian swing, and he's won a title, a 250, and he's done it with some style.
Before we talk the entire week.
That's right, and before we talk about even the final, which he did come through against the number one seed Lorenzo Musetti,
right.
A tough opponent who has been playing well this year. Musetti, in the first round he came through Kei Nishikori. In straight sets, 6-4, 6-4. Of course, Kei is coming back after, he's had his own injury struggles, but he's come back and he looked pretty good recently. In that match, I mean, obviously Nishikori is still not quite at the level that he was. He's still an impeccable ball striker, though, and there were moments in that match which were really exciting. Rallies that they were produced because, of course, Jerry Shang as well. We should talk about him. His ball striking is exceptional as well. And that was a really exciting match. Maybe, Shang was just pipping him in terms of the quality, though, and the consistency that he was able to bring. And he came through that one. And just in the second round, in the round of 16, he did drop a set to Roman Safiullin, the 8th seed, but then won the next two 6-3, 6-3.
Really
and then coming through against Alexander Bublik in the quarterfinals in straight sets. Bublik is a player that he actually beat at the US Open in the first round That was a great result for Jerry. Then he won that in 5 sets. I was actually at that match. So, yeah, that's one of many great matches I saw at the US Open. I was lucky enough to be there for the first round. And then, yeah, Hanfin was who he faced in the semifinals. And he came through, that comfortably. And, yeah, in the final, he was just, honestly, it maybe helps a little bit that you're playing in front of a home crowd, but it's not always that easy. I don't think your first final is a bit of pressure, isn't it? But he managed to come through in the first set tiebreak. I mean, for him, it's just like his ball striking is so good. And he's not the biggest player. He's not the tallest player, according to the official stats. He's 180 centimeters, which is, pretty small these days for the men's game. And in spite of that, he's got a pretty decent serve, and he probably on these courts a bit quicker. The conditions, quick hard court seems to suit him, and yeah, he gets a little bit more in his serve. And actually, he ended up being hitting 5 aces in that match, which is more than Musetti, the taller Musetti. Musetti only hit 2, and he was strong. He was 73% of his points on the first serve and 60% on the second serve. So he was winning and doing well behind the first serve, and he's getting 71% of the first serves in. But ultimately his ball striking is so good, especially the forehand. I mean, some of the forehand shots that he was hitting, like up the line, just excellent. I mean, just really high level ball striking. I mean, this puts him now, I think, up to about 52 in the rankings. Obviously,
which is still his highest, yeah.
Yeah, that's his highest ranking. And you'd imagine he has got, I mean, we've not got much left in this year. But, I mean, obviously, getting at this stage, he's only, about 19 and a half years of age. He's already up to 52. He's now the highest, I talked before, he's the second youngest player in the top 100. Obviously, being the first player born in 2005 to win a title. There's high expectation, and not only that, is he's got a country of 1.3 billion people that he is potentially, you would imagine, I mean, the amount of money that this guy could make if he actually managed to. I mean, I at this point, I mean, I don't like to project too far and say like, well,
of course, yeah,
this guy's going to win a slam, or I mean, if he was to win a slam, I mean, let's think of far, but let's remember we haven't had a player win a slam that's under 6 feet since Hewitt. It was Hewitt, right? Yeah. I think. I mean, assuming that the height stats are real, I think it is about correct in his case. But yeah, I mean, obviously, I do think he does have a potential, though, in the not too distant future, maybe next year, possibly to get to top 20. And in long term, yeah, a top 10. I honestly don't think that's an unreasonable sort of prediction there for him. But at the moment, the point is he's got the most potential of any Chinese man so far. And this is really exciting for Chinese tennis and yeah, Chinese
sure.
for tennis in the region, I would say.
So Jerry's obviously going to move on to the China Open, and obviously an intriguing matchup in the first round, playing Bu Yunchaokete, who had his own breakout tournament in the past week in Hangzhou.
Yeah, exactly. And that was really kind of satisfying for me personally, just to be able to see Bu able to step up in this at this level, because obviously we've been following him on the Challenger Tour this year, and since about Korea, really he sort of kicked on from there and been very consistent. I think he's maybe won the most Challenger matches on the Challenger Tour this year. If he's not still there,
he's the most as well.
Yeah, right. I mean, but he's up there anyway. But he's found his form, and he's come in at the right time into Hangzhou. So yeah, he managed to reach the semi-finals, And not only did he reach the semi-finals, he managed to beat Karen Khachanov on the way.
Right.
So that's obviously, in terms of ranking, that's the biggest victory for him in his career so far. He came through in the first round against Gaston in straight sets. The match against Khachanov, he came through a tiebreak. He lost the second set 6-4 and then won the final set 6-3. Bit of an easier proposition. Well, maybe not, but in the quarterfinals, he came through in straight sets against Kukushkin. Of course, we should mention Kukushkin of Kazakhstan. He himself is at the age of 36, he's managed to get up. I think he might have got back in the top 100. But regardless of whether he's just inside or just outside of it, he's pretty amazing for. Actually, he's at 100 in the rankings exactly.
Oh, yeah.
So doing that at the age of 36 is an achievement in itself. Yeah, but Bu, then he gets to semi-finals and he has to face Triple Z. But for to win that when he won that quarterfinal, that meant he got to his first ATP semi-final, but also he broke into the top 100. He actually broke down in tears because
right.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's been through a lot, to get a lot of sacrifices to.
I say we don't sort of background shame here, but obviously Bu and Jerry Shang, very, very different backgrounds. Jerry, obviously, his dad was a pro footballer, went through the IMG Academy, the Bollettieri system, whereas Bu is a little more of the sort of hard scrabble way up, you might say.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know the full details, but he comes from from the other side of the country, up in was it Xinjiang, like where the northwest of China, when he's obviously talked about his Mongolian ethnic group, and then I think he moved all the way across when he was like at 6 years of age. So he moved there because of tennis at a very young age. So yeah, I mean, obviously moving away from home like that when you're so young is maybe quite a big step. And then obviously he's dedicated a lot to doing that. So yeah, maybe the emotions come out that he's finally, making the big top 100 obviously is a big deal for any professional tennis player. And yeah, and when it came down to the semi-final though, he had to face the other Chinese player that's on the rise is Zhang Zhizhen, or Triple Z as he's known. And yeah, he's in the form of his life as well. But it was a Triple Z who came out on top. And it was, to be fair, a deserving victory. I mean, Bu has been really good in this tournament. I mean, he's just got better. Like he has got better and better across this year. The forehand has become a real weapon. He's so solid in the rallies. He's not easy he doesn't break down easily anymore. And he's just a very good athlete. But Zhang, he is, he's a tall guy, 193 centimeters or 6 feet 4 inches. So, yeah, he's just got that extra oomph on the serve that makes him difficult to break, especially on these quicker courts. And then, yeah, he's just got that power on both wings that he's able to. Unless you're really on it, it's going to be very difficult to get the upper hand. So yeah, he managed to get the victory 7-6, 6-4, and Zhang went on.
He humiliated himself against the world number 777.
Yeah, I mean,
who just happens to be called Marin Cilic.
Yeah, Marin Cilic, who just coming back from injury. He was awarded a wild card by the organisers into this tournament. They may have regretted it slightly that he defeated their favourite. But no, I mean, like, it's great comeback for Marin. I mean, yeah, I mean, how old is he now? We're talking about old players. Yeah, I mean, he's 35.
36.
Yeah, he's going. In fact, he'll be 36 in 3 days' time.
Okay.
So an early birthday present for him because he came through against Zhang in the final 7-6, 7-6. And when we talk about players who've got big serves, obviously Cilic has big serve and big strokes, and he is in many ways,
18 aces, I think it
he's
was.
just a little bit more of experience and a little bit, maybe a little bit more quality. It was shown, in that final. It's because he picked Zhang 7-5 and 7-5 in those tie breaks in each
Mm.
set. So yeah, it was a tight match, but it was always going to come down. I think when they've got the serve that they do and on this kind of surface, it was going to be small margins, and yeah, Cilic was the one to do it. Amazing for him. Yeah, he was, I think, the lowest ranked ATP champion in history because he was 777 in his ranking. So, but obviously that doesn't really reflect his level. But I mean,
No, I
yeah,
think the previous one was Leighton Hewitt or something, who was in the 500s when he won Adelaide in 1998. So it
right.
doesn't really reflect much. So yeah, he's actually not going to the China Open, Cilic. He's going to the Japan Open, and he'll face Nishikori.
Yeah, Nishikori in the first round, and obviously not ideal for either player, but perhaps, I mean, Nishikori will perhaps feeling be a little bit, because it could be worse because Cilic is just coming off a title. Sometimes you tend to see players have a little bit of hangover after doing that.
Sure.
Obviously, he's just going to have flown over. It's not a massively long flight, but
If it was the challengers, he would probably have withdrawn.
yeah, but I mean, yeah, right. But I mean, who else is? Yeah, we've got Nishikori's going to face Cilic, but I should also mention while we were on that tournament, Chengdu, Hangzhou, that
Fugao. Mhm.
Uchiyama, Yasutaka Uchiyama
Right.
of Japan, he actually managed to reach the quarterfinals from qualifying he beat uh, the number 14 in the world, Holger Rune. So that was a
Mhm.
huge victory as well for Uchiyama, and perhaps nice for him because, I mean, I talked to him way when he back when he won Busan. He won the Busan Challenger, which was a good level 125 event here in Korea. He talked about that he felt like he was feeling better physically. His tennis was good, and he was thinking about getting back to the top 100. Unfortunately, then afterwards, then yeah, the physical struggles sort of seeped in again, where he had to retire, and I think in a tournament not long after that. But yeah, he's managed to come back and sort of build up a bit of form again, and yeah, obviously to get a victory against Rune in Hangzhou was the number one seed actually, so he came through 7-5, 6-4 in
Right.
straight sets, and he gave Cilic a tough match in the quarterfinals, but ultimately lost out in a final set tiebreak. But well, obviously that was a great run for him coming through from quali. So he's won, 1, 2, 3, 4 matches, right? So, but then he went to qualifying in Japan and lost in the
He
first
lost.
round. So, I mean, yeah, such is the life of tennis. Sometimes you're up and down, and
It's ups and downs. Anything else on Hangzhou? One thing I noticed about Hangzhou and Chengdu, watching little bits here and there weren't many people there, were there? I know it's a huge stadium, but I never saw very big crowds.
yeah, this is the first year of Hangzhou. They have that big stadium from. I
It
mean, they
is
used it at
huge, yeah.
The Asian Games, and I think it was fuller then. But yeah, I mean, it's a bit of a big stadium, right,
Mm.
for an ATP 250 tournament. It's a cavernous. You can sort of you can the echo in it. You could hear a pin drop. But yes, maybe not ideal in that respect because I felt like actually Chengdu they have the smaller stadium, but the atmosphere
Right.
felt better because it was just fuller. So Chengdu was a bit better in terms of atmosphere, and they turned out good numbers for Jerry, obviously against Musetti. Yeah, Hangzhou. Yeah, I mean I know that I saw the interview with Mikhail Kukushkin saying that he couldn't believe it when he arrived in Hangzhou. He was like, "Look at this stadium; it's so big. It's like going to Shanghai, right?"
Right.
Yeah. So, but obviously, I mean, probably good conditions in terms of facilities and stuff for the players. But yeah, it's a bit strange having that for an ATP 250. But yeah,
Okay,
uh,
so we move on this week to the two events, the China Open and also in Japan. Anything else to look out for in either of those two tournaments coming up?
well, I mean, I suppose we should talk about the China Open, particularly the women's first, because it is a WTA
Right,
1000 event in Beijing, and it's also got a big draw this year. So we've got 96 players in the draw, um, and it's already started because of that.
right.
And I mean, first up, I mean, we just the first round played there, but we just had some big news for for a Chinese player again. Slightly different circumstances, and Zhang Shuai, who has
Right,
just broken her 24 game losing streak, which was a
right.
record. It's not what you want to have that kind of record, but obviously she's just broken it. So she's come through in straight sets as well against McCartney Kessler, the American. So yeah, just good for her to get that finally off her back. And yes, came through two tie breaks. I mean, I watched actually that final set and the second set, and she had opportunities to do it on herself. She broke and then got broken. And then she broke again and
Right.
was she going to serve out? No, she got broken again. It was getting a little bit nervy, but thankfully she stepped up in that tiebreak. She actually ended up being fairly straightforward, that final tiebreak, because it was 7-1. But you felt like, oh no, is she going to blow it again? But like, actually, I was pretty impressed with how well she was going for her shots. You know, she was being brave, and I think yeah, she had a match point. I think maybe in the earlier on where she's coming forward with the volley and it went. She just
Mm.
she mistimed it and it went into the net. Obviously, we see that sometimes, but yeah, she held her own, so she moves on. And yeah, I'm not sure who she plays next, but anyway, just good for her to. I think. Oh, yeah, she plays Emma Navarro next. Okay, the number six seed.
Oh,
So that's obviously a bigger step up. If she
well,
loses that, it's gonna be no shame. But yeah, I mean, nice for her to
as long
get
as she
that
shows
off.
more respect than Queen Wen does when she plays Navarro.
Oh
Um,
yeah, that's
Naomi Osaka's in action as well there, and already through to the second round. I think she won in straight sets against Bronzetti.
yeah. So in Naomi Osaka, she won in straight sets 6-3, 6-2 against Bronzetti. I did see that match. She went. She had chances earlier on to break, and then didn't take them. And then Bronzetti got the break, and I was thinking like, because Osaka was playing very aggressively, and I felt like she's being a bit too aggressive, as in like she could have like
Hmm.
not, because she was hitting some of those shots long when she had breakpoint opportunities, and I felt like is this going to go wrong? But she immediately broke back, and really she didn't look back. I mean, I think she was being extremely aggressive, and um, the stats, well, in the end, were very good. I mean, she was 30 winners to 22 unforced errors, which is
Um,
a good ratio. I mean, 30 winners is a lot in a 6-3, 6-2 match. I mean, I guess some of those games went on a little bit long because they went to juice, but yeah, but still, there's some amazing hitting in there, and she certainly wasn't holding back. Obviously, I think she'll probably want to have a little bit more, consistency and maybe finish off these kind of matches even quicker, because obviously she's got high standards based on the
um,
level she was at before. But she's also got a new coach here, we should mention, which is Patrick Moratoglu, which took a lot of people by surprise that this was her new coaching situation. But a good start anyway for her, and yeah, it will be interesting to see if she can actually get some matches together, because I feel like you know, she's definitely shown signs. She's obviously still got amazing power and just ball striking. She hits the ball. She's a
um,
pure ball striker, and it's very satisfying to watch when she does hit those balls hard and into the corners. But she's got a tough match next against Yulia Putintseva. So yeah, we'll see how that goes. As far as maybe looking ahead generally at the tournament, um, I would also add that we had some Tennis Asia success in the qualifying. Zarina Diaz came
Mm.
through of Kazakhstan, and from Thailand, Sawang Kao came through. So unfortunately, they both got drawn against each other. Well, I would say unfortunately for Tennis Asia, but for them, the reward for the winner of that match is a match against the number one seed Sabalenka. So
Right.
yeah, I mean that's going to be just a bit of a well, it'll be an experience for them. I mean, Sabalenka
Yes.
obviously is a massive favorite, I would say, to win this tournament in these kind of conditions. But I mean, on the other side, the number two seed is Pegula because of the withdrawals of we had Rybakina and Świątek withdraw.
Right.
So yeah, definitely a big chance for Sabalenka here, you would have to say. Also in her little section, Sabalenka is the winner of the tournament that we attended. It was the Korea Open, had admirers in her little section there. Yeah, and I should also mention the first round, Mayuka Ichijima of Japan.
I was going to say, where is Uchijima? I'm just trying to look forward. She's got a Chinese player.
Yeah, she's got a wild card, Shi Han, who is someone who I say I saw. Yeah, I mean I saw a little bit of her. She played some ITFs in Korea. She's young. I know that she's only like 18. Strong though, but I would imagine that Uchijima should have too much for her. You never know though, because obviously, you don't know how players, at home sometimes they come out and play the match of their life. But I would generally expect Uchijima to be able to get through that one. In terms of prospects, obviously you've got Zhang. Zhang Qinwen. So Zhang has in her section Yastremska is the first seed that she could play,
Right.
and then Kasatkina and Anisimova. So not too easy, but I mean this is really where you would expect her to try and step up. I mean she's in the great point with her game. An Olympic gold medalist. She's a hero now in China. A lot of people know her because of that. So
Right.
If she can win or do something here in Beijing, I mean, we've still got another 1,000 event coming up in Wuhan. So, yeah, it would be good for her to see if she can actually, get some results against maybe in these home tournaments. I mean, that's really, I would say, is a next sort of stepping stone for her. But maybe we should talk a little bit about also the men's side of the draw. It's only a 500, but we've also got in the first round you mentioned before, we've got Jerry Shang drawn against Bu. So yeah, Bu's getting a wild card. Shang gets in. He was supposed to be, well, he's originally in the qualies, but then he gets in as a special exempt because he couldn't even play the qualies because he was winning that tournament. Right. So Bu against Shang is interesting because you would normally expect Shang would be the favourite there, but obviously having just won the tournament, Bu, and Bu's, he's someone that I was talking about. He's good in the rallies himself. He doesn't break down easily these days, so he could potentially tire out Shang, and Shang might feel just a little bit, wore out. We'll see though, because obviously Shang has a lot of talent. I was thinking as well, if Shang did lose early here, might not be the worst thing ever because he'd get a rest before the Shanghai Masters, and perhaps that's maybe where he'd like to shine more so than here in Beijing, which is only a 500 for on the men's side. Triple Z, sorry, yeah.
Triple Z, he's got Davidovich Fokina in the first round.
Yeah, Davidovich Fokina. I mean, yeah, that's a tricky first one, but I would say maybe on the way they are at the moment, I would kind of expect Zhang to get through that one, but obviously not easy. And even if he does get through, it's probably Rublev or Carreño Busta. But
Rublev,
yeah,
yeah.
Rublev, definitely is always going to be tough on these kind of courts. So, and then ultimately in that section is Sinner. So potential semi-final opponent if any of them do get that far. But obviously, no one wants to face him really. But yeah, also in the
No,
Chinese
I see he could potentially play Wawrinka in the second round, who was given a wild card.
Sinner, yeah.
Yeah,
Well, I would be pretty happy about that. I mean, Wawrinka at this stage is I would be surprised if he would give anyone. Sorry, if he gives Sinner trouble. I mean, he can give other players trouble, but I mean, in terms of the sort of quicker hardcore, I'm not sure that's the best for Wawrinka these days. If it was on clay, then it's a different story. But Bublik is of Kazakhstan drawn against Koboli, the Italian, and potentially either of them could face Zhao Yi, who's the young
Xiao Yi, yeah.
19-year-old who got the wild card. He did impress Zhao Yi in the last tournament that he was in. Yeah, definitely turned a few heads, let's say, with how he performed. He's got a lot of power, but he hasn't really. I mean, he's still very raw. He's had wild cards into these tournaments, hasn't showed too much. But yeah, he definitely impressed some people with his performances. Should also mention that Coleman Wong. We almost did. Obviously, Coleman Wong from Hong Kong. He was playing in Hangzhou, and he came through the qualifying, and he actually was up against Wu Yibing. We talked about. Unfortunately for Wu,
right.
He had physical struggles again and had to retire when Wong was up 6-3. So Wong won that match, and that's technically his first ATP win. So obviously
Right.
not best way to do it, but then he came through and then played against Nakashima, Brandon Nakashima, who's been in very good form recently. He won the first set tiebreak, narrowly lost the second. He did have chances earlier where he could have possibly. I think he had 2 match points, Wong, before it got to the tiebreak, and unfortunately he couldn't take them. And I did think, like, well, is that probably his opportunity gone? And yeah, it was, because Nakashima took that second set tiebreak and then quickly won the final set 6-1. So yeah, still a bit of work to do for Wong, but he's definitely shown quite a high level in that match. And yeah, he looked really fired up, and just a case of him being able to try and bring that more often. He is now playing a challenger in Thailand. So have I gone
More
on to
twists on the Coleman
maybe?
coaster. The Thailand Challenger. That's is it Nonthaburi, the Nonthaburi Challenger?
Yeah, okay. So I'll talk about it while we're on it. Yeah, so Nonthaburi is in well, it's actually called the Bangkok Open, the tournament. So Nonthaburi is actually just outside Bangkok, but
Mm-hmm.
it's pretty much there, and got a pretty good entry list this year, because, or I should say, when I say this year, it's actually the 4th tournament in this city this year.
Right, yeah.
Um,
Nonthaburi
Non-Fabry
4, I think,
four,
is its
yeah,
official name.
yeah. So yeah, because if you look at the we had Arthur Cazot, the French player, who's been, he's really highly ranked nowadays, as the number 1 seed, and then we also have Mackie McDonald playing. Dan Evans is playing there as well, and Dan Evans, obviously his ranking's fallen. He's got to try and build it back up again.
Mm-hmm.
Funnily enough, I mean, we talk about US Open where I went to, and I managed to witness that historic match between Evans and Kashanov, which was the longest
Right.
US Open match in history. It was 5 hours and 35 minutes. I saw the final
Did
set
you watch
where
all 5,000? Did you watch all 5 hours and 35
no,
minutes?
no,
No.
I actually, it was funny because I was waiting to go in, because waiting for them to let us in, but it was actually near the end of the fourth set. So I wanted to see some tennis.
Oh,
So I
okay.
was kind of like willing Khachanov to win that fourth set, and right enough he did, so that I could get on and see this final set. And then we got in, and yeah. So the funny thing was, yeah, Evans actually went down 4-love, and I think he was also 15-40 as well. So he could have went
Mm.
down 5-love, fought back and won that game and held, and then somehow won every game uh, after that to win 6-4, longest match ever. So obviously it was just crazy scenes. It was a great atmosphere. The funny thing is though, in this match in Nonthaburi in Thailand, the first set, Evans was up 4-love, and I think he was up 40-30, could have been 5-love, but then proceeded to lose all the games after that. Sultanov took the first set
I'm
6-4.
I'm
So
sure he took that in his usual calm and measured way and wasn't at all upset with himself or his coaches or anything like that.
no, he was
I mean, clearly not, because he came back to win the next two, 6-2, six
well,
two. But
he was pretty annoyed, and he seemed to be taking it a bit out on the umpire. Because yeah,
right,
but yeah, and then yeah, but he did regroup and eventually, I think Sultanov, to his credit, was Sultanov's from Uzbekistan, I should add, so he's in tennis
right.
Asia interest, but he was his ground strokes. He's got a bit more power on it than Evans does. Evans he hits a lot of slice in that backhand occasionally, but yeah, I mean Sultanov couldn't keep it up, but in the
And
end, yeah, Evans was too much for him.
Coleman Wong versus Dan Evans, Thursday afternoon.
Yeah, that's right. So Wong came through against the Thai player, local player Kasidit Samrej. So that means he will play, yeah, tomorrow, which will be Thursday. Yeah, he's the second match on court B against Dan Evans. So good test for Coleman Wong. Yeah, interesting to see how that goes. Evans, can you test him maybe, perhaps, with the
Mm.
physicality? It's going to be hot and humid, of course it will be. Um, yeah, so we'll be looking out for that. Should also talk about the men's tournament that's also on. Other than Beijing, we've got the ATP 500 in Japan, in Tokyo,
Right.
where a bunch of players are playing. We just had actually Kei Nishikori playing doubles with Rei Sakamoto, who is the 18-year-old from Japan. He's got a lot of expectations on his shoulders because he was a number one junior player. And yeah, it was quite an exciting match because I saw some of that. Unfortunately for them, they've actually just lost the match
Just
in
lost.
the
Yeah.
yeah, they won the first set tiebreak, lost the second set 6-4, and then lost the championship tiebreak 10-6. So, but it was a lot of excitement there. Good viewing there for the home crowd. Sakamoto, yeah, he seemed like an exciting player for me, but we'll still have to wait and see how he does on the professional tour. He did get a wild card in the qualifying, and Sakamoto did lose to Luca Nardi of Italy,
Right.
6-3, 6-1. Obviously, still much to go in terms of his career, but I did have a vision of, wouldn't it be great if one day we had uh, Shang against Sakamoto? I mean, obviously we can't look too
On a
far
big
ahead, but
stage. Yeah.
on a big stage, I mean, it would be pretty. Yeah, a Japanese player against a
Yeah.
Chinese player would be quite
Mm.
something. But in terms of
Couple
that,
of
yeah,
matchups. You mentioned Nishikori. We mentioned Nishikori's got Chilich in the round of 32. Yoshi Nishioka's got FAA.
yeah, right. So Yoshihito Nishioka getting the wild card against Felix Auger-Aliassime. Yeah, that's interesting to me because well, I mean the conditions in here should suit Auger-Aliassime, but
Right.
Felix hasn't been doing very well recently, has he?
Mm.
By his own standards, I mean, sort of quite up and down. But I mean, we look back to his results in the North American swing. He lost at his own home tournament in Canada, uh, 6-3, 6-2, and then in Cincinnati. He did manage to beat Ruud in that second round, but then lost to Draper, and then he lost in the first round in straight sets to Jakub Menchik at the US Open. I mean, not all easy players, but these aren't particularly encouraging results. I mean, for Nishioka, though, he is a guy who tends to do very well in this Asian swing, but oddly enough, he has not actually done particularly well at his home tournaments. So we know that he actually won tournaments in China, and he won Korea when they had the ATP here. He would beat Shapovalov in the final. No, he definitely does like these conditions. So there shouldn't really be anything stopping him performing. But it's I guess there is a bit of added pressure for some players if they're playing at home. That kind of they feel like they've got to do well. I mean, definitely the opening, perhaps the tie of that opening round is Cilic against Nishikori. That's definitely going to be prime time on the main court in Tokyo. And if Nishikori, I think he's got a chance to get through that one. Obviously, Cilic is looking surprisingly good for a guy that's not been playing before this week. But if they do get through, or if Nishikori does get through, then he will probably have to play either Ruud, who against because he's going to play Thompson. So and then that's Jordan Thompson. But I don't know though, because Jordan Thompson does also like these conditions. But Mochizuki was the other wild card. Shintaro Mochizuki, but he lost. Pretty convincing win for Hugo Humbert. But I think all eyes certainly are going to be on Nishikori to see how he does. He's due sort of if he's fit, then it will be great to see him, because he's such a good ball striker that when he's at his best, he definitely adds to this tour. One other thing that I just crossed my mind that I forgot to talk about is Shang Chung.
Last week, while I was sort of methodically making my way through the wine list and the beer list at that lovely little beer garden they constructed outside Centre Court in Seoul, you were watching Challenger TV, watching Chang Hyun win a couple of matches in Japan, and
I did try to watch that match. It wasn't the best stream. Actually, it wasn't even challenges because he was playing a 25k in
25.
Takasaki, right? He won the first two matches, but then lost to the number seed Oliveira. I mean, Gonzalo Oliveira, who has won a lot of matches at this level, so I wouldn't say that's. Obviously, it's early days in his comeback. He's just going to have to get used to playing at this sort of level again. It's difficult to know what to expect, really, because it's he's hardly played in the last several years. But this is, I mean, if he's fit, it's still a good step for him to get a couple of matches under his belt. And now he's just announced that he's going to be playing next month in October. I'm assuming he's got a wild card at the Taipei Challenger in Taipei City. So, he
Which
did.
level is that? Do we know?
It's a 1-2-5 tournament.
Okay, so
it's
pretty,
a good level of
pretty
challenge.
decent one.
Yeah. So good for him. It happens to be in the week before the Seoul Challenger. So I would imagine that he's planning to play that as well. He would definitely get a wild card if he wants it. And I mean, it's just going to be interesting. But obviously, I think his natural, his natural ground game is good enough. But the problem is obviously his physical issues, and then his serve, right? Because he had to he kept on trying to transform his serve because he had a back injury that was a serious back injury that kept him out. And last year when he came back, he tried to make a comeback But his serve looked so awkward because he was trying to alter it just to probably because he's worried about the back situation. And yeah, now it looks less awkward, I have to admit. So it does look less, a little bit more fluid now. And
Mm.
but yeah, that is still not brilliant. I think the forehand is not quite his best side, but yeah, let's see how he does. It's just good if he can get back to some kind of competitive level. It's just one step at a time, but some guys will be
It would be
on
great
that.
to see him back on the centre court in Seoul at the end of October. Speaking about the centre court in Seoul, we should very briefly touch on the WTA Career Open. It was a 500 for the first time this year. I think we do have to feel a little bit for the organisers of this tournament, which is something we probably won't say very, very often. But first time as a 500, a lot of withdrawals, leading the field to be pretty similar to its 250 days, to be quite honest. And they put a lot of effort into it as well. There was a much sort of improved sort of infrastructure around the site. Obviously, the second court, which was rather optimistically named Grandstand Court, which was still just a shed with a corrugated roof and some baking hot bleachers and random guys coming to like empty the trash cans like they do at all times when the public is using these courts. But they'd obviously invested in a little bit. There's quite a lot of catering. I made sure to put a lot of turnover through the catering, obviously, and they got very unlucky as well with the weather. It was baking hot for the first 3-4 days. Then they lost a day entirely to the rain. So there's a bit of what could go wrong did go wrong, but it was still quite an entertaining tournament.
Well, yeah, I mean, obviously, first of all, having there was four ATP WTA top 10 players on the entry list, including Iga
Mm.
Swiatek, and for all, which is great for a 500 tournament, but then for all of them to withdraw, and especially when that's what they were marketing, these players coming. And on the poster was, three of them plus Emma Raducanu, and
That's right. You
then
pointed it out as we went into the stadium, didn't you?
but then Emma Raducanu as well. She ended up having to retire in the quarterfinals after expectations there. So none of the players on that poster ended up getting past to the latter stages. And yeah, in terms of, I mean, I would say it was a bit disappointing, to be honest, in terms of you saying it was a pretty fun tournament. I mean, I guess the first few rounds, yeah, we did have some decent matches, but and we should talk about Crystal. She gave a good effort against
Yeah.
Tomljanovic. It
Mm-hmm.
wasn't to be in the end, but she lost in 3 sets. Um, but also, because when it came down to the quarterfinals, all of those matches were in straight sets, and one of them was a
Yeah.
6-1 for Kasatkina against Raducanu, and then a retirement. So in that sense, although I did go to that quarterfinal day, and we did have it was
They moved
so
Kostyuk onto the main court,
that's right. So
didn't they?
Marta Kostyuk against Schneider. It ended up being a victory in straight sets for Schneider, but it was actually a, a very high level match. So yeah, I can't be too disparaging about the level of play, but no, like that was good. But maybe Kostyuk was kicking herself a little bit because she probably could have won that first set. She ended up
Yeah.
losing a tiebreak, but such is tennis. And I was pleased in the end that the fans, because it was pretty much a full house in the end on that final day, which was great. But they got a pretty decent match. It was a 3-set match, and Haddad Maya coming back from a set down. She lost the first set against Kasatkina. Kasatkina was playing well in terms of, she's got that kind of unpredictable style, and she kind of takes you by surprise with some of her angles and sort of trickery. But eventually Haddad Maya found her range, and she has got up. She's a bigger hitter. She's got maybe just had to work out and be a bit more careful with her shot selection, and eventually she was the one controlling the match. She won that second set 6-4. It was funny because it was a challenge on the final shot that won her the match, the winner, not the match, sorry, that second set. And when they showed the replay from the challenge, I swear to God, it's the most marginable. Sorry, it's the smallest margins I've ever seen for a a challenge, and it was like less than a millimeter or maybe a millimeter of the line there at the back. But that set, so it was called in, and she won that set, and then ended up stepping up in that final set, and she took it home 6-1. And I'll tell you a funny story as well, is that actually I think her physiotherapist was there at the tournament, because she was talking about her had admire. But funnily enough, my the trainer at my gym is Brazilian, and apparently Hadidmaya's physiotherapist has stayed at his house a few times. So
really?
So it's a small word.
Just as convenience, or anything scandalous going on, or
No. I just
I know.
No, it's just
it is indeed.
What I meant to say though is not in Korea. So his physiotherapist was staying
in Brazil.
Yeah, his house. He's got a house in Brazil, right? I guess so. I don't know exact details, but
okay, that is actually more of an interesting story.
Yeah. So
okay, so Seoul's Open. Luckily, that venue will be used again at the end of October. Any other business tonight? I think we covered pretty much everything.
Yeah, I mean, we got through a lot.
We did.
Yeah, we got through a lot, and I think we've got a lot to look forward to in terms of we've got a massive 1,000 event. The one thing we didn't mention was that you actually got to meet the best performing Chinese player at that tournament in Seoul.
Yes, indeed. Yuan Wei. She's my favourite now. I did actually quite enjoy it. I was actually really, really surprised that you were allowed to take pictures, because often at those autograph sessions you're not. I got Penko's autograph last year. We weren't allowed pictures that day, but Yuan Wei, she was standing up for everyone. They had the staff member hand over your phone, and they took the picture. I cropped out the two absolutely massive security guards who were standing right behind me. But she was very, 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 very pleasant.
Great. I mean,
big Yuan Wei fan from now on. Yeah.
I mean, I forgot to. Is she even playing in the cup?
I don't think so. I looked when we went through. I didn't see her. I didn't see her name by there, but can't be sure.
Oh no, she is. Sorry, she is. She is playing. She is the 30th seed. Yeah. So, but she's obviously got a bye, but you have to play the winner of Blinkova or Karolina Mukova. So, not easy. But let's see.
I will go back and reinforce what you said earlier. Actually, I did send that picture to every Chinese person that I know. And without fail, everyone came back and said, "Is that Zhang Xinwen?" I was like, "No, it's not."
You could have just pretended and said, "Oh, it is. It is."
I could have done. Yeah, I could have done. But as you said, she's super famous in China these days, so it's not quite possible.
It wouldn't last long.
Okay, so plenty covered this week. Plenty to look forward to over the next few days. Enjoy the China Open, enjoy the Japan Open, enjoy the Challenger as well in Thailand. And I'll speak to you soon.
Cheers. See you next week. Thank you.